The next family that we're going to hear from is the family of Private First Class Corey Clagett, by far the youngest and most junior of the Leavenworth 10. He had only been in the Army for 10 months before he was deployed to Iraq. And 8 months into that deployment, he was arrested and charged with murder for following orders to kill 3 al-Qaeda operatives. He was, his trial was one of the most gross miscarriages of justice, with his attorney abandoning him on the eve of the trial. And the worst part of all is that he's been held in solitary confinement for 4 years. These are the men who step up every single day, and this is how our country is treating them. He's got a new attorney, and he's fighting for his freedom. He went before the Army Clemency and Parole Board in June, but he was summarily denied. He's currently appealing to the Secretary of the Army. And if you go to any website, including the Army website, you can get a message to the Secretary of the Army, and you ought to tell him what you think about this.
My name is Tim Perlatore, and I'm the attorney representing Corey Clagett. This is his family, his mother, Melanie Dianiska, and his younger brother, Joey. Now, Corey was a squad member of Bill Hunsaker, so I'm not going to retell the story that you just heard Fran tell so well. But I do want to talk about what the Army has done to him since then. When he was arrested, he was put into a prison in Kuwait where he was terribly mistreated. He was kept awake. They had 24-hour bright lights. They made him sleep, chained in the fetal position. They withheld food from him for days. This is before he was even convicted. Since that time, the past 4 years, he's been in solitary confinement over in Fort Leavenworth. When I went to see him yesterday, they brought him out, his feet chained together, his arms chained to his side. All he did was he followed an order. Now, we went before the Army Clemency and Parole Board back in June, and we made an argument. He's serving an 18-year sentence, and he did take responsibility for his actions. He followed an order, he killed 3 al-Qaeda operatives, he took responsibility, and he even went as far as to help the government and try and testify against those who gave him the orders. And the person who gave him the orders is free today. He's still in solitary confinement. Now, in defending him, I spoke with his commanding officer, and his commanding officer, who was initially very much against him, actually turned around, changed his mind, and wrote a letter on Corey's behalf. And I'd like to read to you a part of it. This is from Colonel Michael Steele. He says, we're writing to the Clemency and Parole Board, I hope that the board can view his conduct through the eyes of an infantry soldier walking the streets of Iraq, a soldier who is perplexed that every Iraqi injury or death was reported and exhaustively investigated, while no inquiry is made when an American was brutally killed. I hope that you can understand a soldier's frustration in seeing those Iraqis responsible for the deaths of American soldiers being routinely released from jail. And as his commander, it is clear that Corey's crime was born of frustration and desperation from failed policies, not a desire to commit murder. Given that Corey's squad leader, the widely recognized instigator of this crime, has since been paroled, it is in the interest of justice that Corey's sentence be adjusted. Given the time he has already served, there should be no concern that justice has been served. It has. Now, I presented that to the board, and while it takes them normally 2 weeks to deliberate on whether to grant somebody clemency, they had a decision that afternoon denying clemency in its entirety. When I went and asked them for the reasons, I filed a Freedom of Information Act request to get what their reasons are, and I'm going to show you right now what they gave me. They blacked them out. Why is the Army willing to keep him in jail and not willing to say why? Now, we have a website, CoreyClaggett.com. You can read our entire brief of everything we submitted to the board. We submitted this huge document here, which, by the way, the vast majority of this document is letters from people like you, probably many of you out here in the crowd today, writing letters begging for Corey to be released. All of it fell on deaf ears. Right now, we are appealing to the Secretary of the Army. We are considering bringing this into federal court. We are considering all options because he needs to be released. Now, his mother, Melanie, would like to just say a couple of words to you as well.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It surely has helped my spirits and given me hope that there are people that do care. But I remember when Corey joined the service, he had a delayed entry program. So he had just turned 20. I was ready to take him to the station with his recruiter where he was going to get on the bus. And Corey says, "Mom, you gotta let me go. I'm grown. I don't need you to take me. I'll say goodbye here." And he had the recruiter come to the house to pick him up. When I waved goodbye to my son in the car, I never imagined in a million years that my son could have come home in this way. He could have come home in a coffin and been presented with an award and given me a flag and been called a hero. Well, he is a hero. Yeah, he is. And he is alive. And he bleeds like you and I. He fought for us. Please fight for him. Thank you.
Regardless of what he did, he's still a hero to me. He was just following orders. And it's like he's been locked up for 51 months in solitary confinement.
Do you ever get to see him or anything?
I haven't seen my brother in 1,500 days.